Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Wong, founder and CEO of the Bedside Trust. Welcome back to another podcast. One of the questions I've asked audiences recently is I asked them to think about an average day as a healthcare leader. And I asked him to think about, in an average day, what's the percentage of time that you might spend managing tasks, getting things done, working through your punch list, putting out fires, solving problems that other people can't solve. Think of that as a percentage of the day. It could be as little as 10%, could be as much as 80 or 90, perhaps 100% of your day. Then I asked them, raise your hands, anybody in the audience who's at 50% or less. None of the members in the audience raised their hands. At 60%, maybe 5% of the hands go up. At 70%, it might be 20% of the audience. 80% of their day is where I'd say 60 to 75% of healthcare leaders live today in an average day. 90% brings that total number up to about 90% of the audience. And then the last 10% spending up to 100% of their day managing tasks, doing their job, putting out fires, solving problems that other people can't solve. And then the second question I ask is, if you're spending at least 60% and up to 100% of your time in management, how much time are you spending as a leader, in leadership? Now, if you look in the dictionary, leadership is showing the way, leading the way. How much of your time are you able to spend teaching, coaching, mentoring, developing, building relationships, or building teams? And the answer is anywhere from 0% of the time to 40% of the time, with an average being about 5 to 10% of the time. 5 to 10% of an average day spent as leaders. I may not convince you of the need to reverse those percentages, although I do think that is the goal. But if all we have is that tiny slice, frequently occurring at the edges or the fringes of the day, where we say to ourselves, you know, if I could just get through these management tasks, then I'd have time to lead. If all we're reduced to is that tiny slice, we must make sure we get that slice right. We must understand that leadership slice, practice it, expand it over time. Because as we get better at that leadership slice, we are convinced it leads to less time spent in management. And if you could teach others that leadership piece, people begin to organize themselves and solve their own problems so that you don't have to as a leader. And as a leader, that would be among our chief objectives: to unleash, to empower, to deploy, to leverage our workforce and teams in such a way that they're able to organize themselves and solve their own problems, spending more and more time for us as leaders, less time as managers. The way to do that is by adopting a daily practice, a daily leadership practice that we call patient-driven leadership. In the video to follow, I'll go into the 3 tenets of patient-driven leadership so you could understand how to master that to the point where it becomes part of your daily practice, where you get that slice right, bring the most out in yourself, in your teams, in your other people, in your workforce, so that you can create an organization of patient-centered problem-solving teams. Thanks. I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast.